The path of a rogue is a lonely one, wrought with danger and devoid of human connection. It will push you away from your friends, your family, and you might never recover from the horrors that lay towards the end of this perilous—
Yeah, man, can you just give me my tears in a ring now? Fine.
Get ready to be schooled!
Hello everybody, and welcome to my first Realm of the Mad God class analysis video. Today, we're going to be looking at the Rogue. The Rogue is a dagger class based on stealth and speed. He shares similarly high speed and dexterity stats with his partners, which gives him more movement and damage capabilities that compensate for his otherwise average stats, specifically his defense. However, his most distinct trait is his ability, the Cloak. The Rogue's Cloak typically grants him a few seconds of invisibility at the cost of some MP, with some higher tier cloaks even boosting his speed and dexterity stats to complement him. Invisibility itself is a unique status effect when applied to players because if the player is invisible, then any enemies within range won't be aggravated and won't attack the invisible player. Be warned though that there are exceptions to this, because some enemies have attacks that trigger regardless if a player is nearby or not, so don't get too cocky trying to sit on something like a native sprite god. Invisibility is mostly an intuitive ability that allows rogues to sneak up on their enemies and attack them without any aggression. However, there is arguably a much more well-known use for not just the Cloak, but the Rogue class as a whole. Rushing in RotMG wasn't originally an intended strategy. The act of rushing is simply running through a dungeon towards the boss as fast as possible by running past enemies and hazards. It's an extremely risky strategy that, intentional or not, rewards skillful players with efficiency. If you dodge all of the hazards and make it to the boss, you're rewarded with a much faster dungeon complete. However, by running through all of the danger, you also put your character at much more risk than if you had slowly cleared through each room as you went on. The Rogue is surprisingly well equipped for rushing dungeons. His speed can obviously help him run faster through the dungeon, but it's his cloak that actually makes rushing more accessible. You can use your cloak to prevent enemies from attacking you while you run through the dungeon. And if you're really good at MP management, or you have a legendary pet with magic heal, you can stay invisible almost all of the time as you are rushing, provided you can dodge attacks during the times where you're visible and prevent the in-combat timer from screwing with your MP refill. It feels amazing to speed through a dungeon and stay mostly undetected by enemies before making a smooth slip into the boss's DMs. Although, I should probably explain why I've called the Rogue lonely. Rushing, along with the rest of the Rogue class, while fun and efficient, is also incredibly isolating. Let's take a step back for a bit and look at all of the other classes in RotMG. Warriors, paladins, and bards can provide buffs for everyone. Priests and necromancers can heal everyone. Tricksters and mystics excel at group control. Knights, archers, samurais, and huntresses can all debuff enemies. Do you see the pattern with all of these classes listed? They all provide benefits to not just a single player, but to all players in a group. Even classes like Wizard, Assassin, Sorcerer, Ninja, Summoner, and Kensei indirectly help the group by focusing more on damage of some form. Now let's look back at the Rogue. What I didn't mention about the Rogue's ability to turn invisible is just how shafted it gets in multiplayer play. If you're invisible, enemies won't attack you specifically, but their attacks can very much hit you, and they can still be aggravated by other nearby players that aren't invisible. The Rogue himself doesn't directly help the group in any way, but rather suffers instead of if he was playing alone. You could try to turn invisible and sneak up on the unsuspecting Lair Construct Titan, or you could get insta-pop because a knight wanted to give it a hug. Even rushing itself is isolating, especially for the Rogue. Rushing with multiple other people is generally messy and aggravates more enemies than needed, and is also especially annoying for the Rogue whose clean getaway is interrupted by a clueless random player checking if the Rogue is at a tea room or not. This is mostly alleviated with players being unable to teleport to other invisible players, but it also highlights just how detrimental it is for the Rogue to play in group settings. I'm not trying to fabricate some sad RotMG character class backstory at 3 AM for YouTube Kids Gone Wrong Police called. Most players already know how much better the Rogue is at solo play, and how useless he feels in group play, which is concerning for a massively multiplayer online game. The Rogue can only ever truly shine when he's alone. Despite this, the Rogue is still a good class in the hands of an experienced player. He can move fast, stay hidden, breeze through dungeons if managed properly, and make for easy kills on smaller enemies. He may not be the go-to class for group buffs or even general play, but his excellence in being able to rush through a dungeon with few problems is part of what makes him so unique. He also has a larger safety net than other fast classes for those just getting into rushing. In the face of evil monsters and clueless players, the rogue is an expert at being a lonely speedster. Hey, so you made it to the end of the video. If you couldn't tell, this is my first time doing this type of class analysis video, and my first time doing this honest bit at the end. Even this part is scripted because I genuinely couldn't say all of my thoughts coherently on the fly without writing them down first. Anyways, thanks to the 10 people who are subscribed to me, and the probably 4 people who are actually watching. I make these videos mostly for myself, but I'm glad that there are at least some people who care about the content that I make, as silly and all over the place it is. If you came for the memes, the music, or the incredibly short RotMG analysis videos, or whatever else I make later on, in most likely a month because I'm lazy, then that'll be enough. Knowing that someone cares about my stuff is enough. So if you haven't already, subscribe if you can endure the at least 1 month period when knocking videos. I'm not even gonna cut that out. And I'll see you next time.